Really pleased for Mikel Arteta and how he's turned the season around. And I said before Aston Villa played them early in the season, there was a lot of talk about the start they'd had. And in amongst the first couple of games was the European champions and the current Premier League champions who they had to play. So sometimes results have to be taken in context, and I'm really pleased that they've turned it around. But we're coming up against an animal at the moment that's playing really well, and we have to make sure we're at our best. We've been working in the forward parts of the pitch at the moment, because that's where we're struggling to score goals. We're certainly creating chances, but we need to certainly put the ball in the back of the net now.
I think they deserve much more from many games, and in recent games as well. Under Dean as well, I think they deserve better results, and they haven't got them. And we know at their place it will be a really difficult game. If the crowd is there as well, how special is the Boxing Day, so we expect a tough match. We are half through the season, and unfortunately the season's end in May, and there's still a lot of things to do, and we have a lot of things still to get much better at, to improve, but I think the team is going in the right direction. That's the feeling that I have.
Well, Arsenal are in good form at the moment. 3 wins in a row, and they're into the top 4. Did you see that run coming, Leanne?
No, absolutely not. And being a former Arsenal player, I was there during the glory years, and I always compare them to that time, the likes of Vieira, Petit, Tony Adams, all those types of players. And I've said for years, I didn't really see the direction the club has been going. I think one thing you've got to respect about Mikel Arteta, I think at times he's got away with quite a lot that other managers I don't think have gotten away with. But having said that, he does things his way. And it seems like it's his way or the highway, obviously with the Aubameyang situation and other players, Ozil. But you can't say anything about what they're doing right now, because they're in 4th place, they're flying. They're winning games that I don't think Arsenal would have won a couple of years ago, and they do seem like they're going in the right place. But I still think if they could strengthen in certain areas, that would be really good. I still think you can't always rely on the young players. It's great they have the young players, but having too much dependency upon them can sometimes be detrimental. But they're flying at the moment, and I've come on here many times and said they need to be doing better, and now that they are, I've got to give credit where it's due.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of the Aubameyang situation, let's get this out the way then, Tim. What do you make of it all? Do you think that the way Mikel Arteta has handled it is correct, and where do you see his future?
Well, it's correct, because it's what he believes in. He obviously, it's not the first time. I think it was the first time he let him get away with it a little bit. I think he disciplined him, but he brought him back into the group. I think the second time round, he's obviously made his mind up that it's not what he expects, and he doesn't want him to be anywhere near the rest of the players. No.
Don't you think it's quite harsh though, Tim?
I think it's hard.
Really hard.
You can easy as a manager turn a blind eye, but it's easy to turn a blind eye when the player's playing very well.
That's what I was just about to say.
At the moment, he's not. So it makes his decision a little bit easier. And he feels like, do you know what? It's maybe time for Martinelli or Eddie Nketiah, who scored a hat-trick in the Carabao Cup in midweek, to give them an opportunity, because you have to say the best players Arsenal have are the kids. The Smith-Rowes and the Sakas. I mean, they've been outstanding. I think his signings have been good. Tomiyasu's been good at right back. He's got more stature. You've got Kieran Tierney. Ramsdale's been outstanding. Now, I was certainly one who questioned his...
Me too.
Signing to the club, saying, what's all that about? The kid's got a real personality. Not only does he keep the ball out the net, he passes from the back. He's one of the best passers they've got. He starts their way. Some of the goals they've scored recently are Mikel Arteta's dream goals. He must wake up in the middle of the night with a smile on his face thinking, that is what I've worked so hard to. Now, the consistency's there to keep taking scalps, what people don't expect them to. They beat the rest. And that's not easy to do, because it's the Premier League. But I see they seem to be going up there quietly by beating the Norwiches and the Palaces and all of this world. It's when they come up against, they've got a North London derby coming up. That's the one he needs to win. He needs to win that one. He needs to put them away. The fight to 4th is going to go, it's deep. I mean, there's a lot of teams involved. Leicester I'd still put into that. Man United, I think they come with a run. Tottenham all of a sudden have jockeyed into the pole position. And Arsenal would think, and West Ham think they're still in it. So that is going to be a fight right to the wire. But it's all about beating the teams in and around you.
You talk about the young players in the team as well, Tim. Average youngest starting 11 in the Premier League this season. And against Leeds, it was all of those young players that scored the goals. And Tim talked about the Aubameyang situation. Perhaps Mikel Arteta's just trying to set an example for these young players in the team. But how important have they been? They've just been outstanding, haven't they?
Yeah, outstanding. Martinelli, of course, the latest one now, in great form. We see that run there. The second touch is maybe not the best, but he's so quick that he recovers and scores. It's a lovely finish. Like I said, his role is very important, not just as the older guy because he's 30 and they're all 21 or under, but also because he dropped deep. He did 30 pressures in that game against Leeds, recovered the ball 15 times, not him, but the team as a whole, which Aubameyang doesn't give you as a number 9. Like I said, brings something different that I think fits the way Arteta wants to play much more, especially with the kids. Odegaard has been great too in the sort of playmaker role. At times, the build-up is still a bit slow for my liking, but that's what he's asked them to do, so they do what he asks. But it's certainly working, and I think the kids are showing so much maturity already. This is the most striking thing for me. The talent is there, but you can be very talented at 18 years old, but it's the maturity they're showing on the pitch that I think is really outstanding.
Where do you think that comes from, that maturity? Is that just born in the player?
It's a combination of things. I think it's the Arsenal way. I mean, I grew up at Arsenal. We did everything the men did. We did everything that Arsene Wenger did. So when you got to the first team, you knew exactly what was required of you. And I think that's what Mikel Arteta is doing right now. You know, he's got the players in there that are listening to him, buying into what he's doing. But from a performance perspective, one thing I noticed about Arsenal, the penetrative passes, they're playing through the middle. We haven't seen them do that before with Odegaard and Smith Rowe. We saw in the last game, you know, making that something so simple that they make football look simple, make that run, play the ball. But Arsenal haven't been doing that for a number of years, and the fact they're doing it now, yes, it might not come off every single time, but 9 times out of 10, ask Freddie Ljungberg how he made his career out of being in the right place, making that run, getting through. So, you know, it isn't by luck that you find yourselves in situations. Mikel Arteta is obviously demanding of them, and he's got players in there, and we mentioned Martinelli before. If he can stay fit, that's the biggest problem for him. He can go on to be a real Arsenal legend in the future, but they need to keep him fit because he gets injured quite a lot, really bad injuries, and hopefully he can stay fit for them. But the young players have been fantastic, and at times, like I said, I think Arteta should have been questioned his job. You know, at times I really do. I think if it was anywhere else, they would have been saying, why is he still in the job? But patience sometimes can pay off, and right now, I still don't think Arsenal are going to make the top 4. I know they're in there right now and they look like they're in good form, and I could be wrong. I was wrong about Ramsdale, as you mentioned. I think we all were. I was saying, why are they spending 30 million on a goalkeeper that's been relegated twice? But what do we know, eh? Sometimes you get it wrong, and he's doing fantastic.
If Aubameyang were to leave, either in January or in the summer, Tim, do they already have a replacement for him within the squad?
Who knows until they give them people the opportunity. Eddie Nketiah, we saw his goals in the Carabao Cup, and every time he plays, he affects the game. He's a different type to Uber. You know, he likes to drift out on the left-hand side of Aubameyang. He stays in the penalty area, he stays in the width for the goal, but he can score. You know, and if the manager gives you the confidence, say, you're my man, you're going to stay in there for 10 games, it'd be interesting to see what he does in them 10 games. I think Martinelli obviously is ahead of him. Good, fantastic pace as well. The kids, I think, because of Smith Rowe and Saka and how well they've done, I think it opens the door to that academy. All of a sudden, it breathes life into that dressing room, the academy side of the club. They think, you know what, the manager don't mind. He's not just picking price tags or reputations from what other players have done in previous years or in other countries. He's looking at us on the training field. If we're delivering the goods, we're getting an opportunity to play. Now, them boys, they've been at the club since they're like 8, 10 years of age. You cut them in half, they bleed the colour of the club. They love the football club, but you need to show them a little bit of love. I know from my work of doing the development in the past, give them the love and they'll show you it back. And the fans will respect that. And they give them a little bit more time. You know, as much as Arsenal need to start winning things, like a lot of clubs could say exactly the same, like the club down the road who I was attached to, Tottenham, need to start winning. But the fans will give them a little bit more time if the boys through their academy are on the pitch. But you got a spot on there, Leanne, about Mikel. It was a slow burner. At times I was scratching my head thinking, what is he actually trying to do? You know, where's the philosophy about it? But I think now, slowly but surely, we're seeing a playing philosophy. I think that the goalkeepers helped massively because they were so predictable in their playing out style that they were getting the ball knocked off them on the final third. They were conceding sloppy goals. Now they're mixing it up. They're going longer. Then they're jabbing the team off them, so they step back a little bit, and then they start playing out. It's the mixture, and I think they've got the right cocktail, and they've got the right cocktail of experience. The Lacazette shout is absolutely outstanding there because he's like Firmino. he comes off, he plays with his mind because he knows he's got Saka and Martinelli going. He occupies centre halves, he brings them out into areas, leaves holes for the likes of Smith Rowe to run into. He's the brains of the operation, and I think that is what the manager wants. So at the moment, they're not missing Uber. He needs to get an Uber to wherever he wants to go.
Other taxi companies are available. What about Norwich then? Because where Arsenal have an array of options that can score them goals, it seems to be where Norwich are really lacking at the moment. They're the lowest scorers in the division. Only 8 scored after this amount of games.
Yeah, and I think Timo Pukki had 60% on, so it's basically Pukki or nothing, really. I mean, I think Josh Sargent is a nice player and he runs a lot and he's got a lot of energy and he's a good kid, but he's not a goal scorer and certainly not for the Premier League level. And I think the others, Rachika and Cantwell and the others are not putting the shift in terms of goals. So that's why they will always struggle. Dean Smith can say, we're practicing finishing and scoring as much as you want. It's not the same then when you play a Premier League game. But I think this is where maybe in January they have to look at someone who could come in and doesn't have to replace Pukki straight away because he's very important for them, but either play with him or give something a bit different, but score goals or certainly has that sort of profile of finisher.
Do they need to try something different, Leanne? Because whatever they're doing at the moment, there was a little bit of a lift when Dean Smith took over, but it's dropped off again recently, 3 defeats in a row. Do they maybe need to just try something completely different? When you're in a losing run like that at a club and you're bottom of the league, is there just some kind of freshness that you need?
It's difficult with Norwich because I promise I'm not like anti-Norwich or anything like that, but when they come up, they're like a yo-yo club, right? They've been promoted twice now and then they get like relegated. They get money for getting promoted and I'm like, just spend some money. Now they've got Billy Gilmore, Brandon Williams, a lot of players on loan, but it's the definition of insanity for me because they get promoted and then the same thing keeps happening and the players are trying, they're just not good enough. So, spending January, I still don't think it's going to be enough to save them. I really don't. But when you look at the Premier League, I want to go and see games that I know that it's not a foregone conclusion the team's going to lose. And I feel like Norwich are one of those teams that, and that's no disrespect to them, you just know they're not going to win. And it will have to take the other team not playing very well and then playing an absolute blinder to win the game. And that's not what I want to see. So I sometimes question their thought process because it's like, if you're not going to come into the Premier League and invest with better players, you mentioned Pukki, but we know he scores goals in the Championship, similar to Mitrovic at Fulham. When they come into the Premier League, it just is a different ball game. And they've done it before. So wouldn't you rather just stay in the Premier League or maybe just stay in the Championship if you're not going to invest?
There are 2 teams that have conceded more goals than Norwich this season, so there's something to cling on there, Tim. Do you give them any chance of staying up? It's only 3 points off safety. I know there's lots of games in hand for other teams, but...
No.
No? Okay.
No, I've said for a while now, I just think that... I think Dean gave him a boost, didn't he? Give him a little bit of lift. He tried Sargent up front with Pukki, trying to give him more support. Todd Cantwell was making runs from midfield. Billy Gilmore was getting on the ball. It was a real lift there. But that lift only lasts for so long. When you start getting beat, it's like, back to type again. So, listen, can I give him a chance? No, I really can't because I look at the other team. I think there's better teams. I think they're one of the 3 teams who are the worst in the league. They could. It's all right. Where are you going to find that player to score the goals? Everyone's looking for that player. Certainly at the bottom of the league, he's not. Even if you've got the money, it's just not there to find. No one's going to sell you someone who's guaranteed to score in the Premier League. Impossible to do, and I think it's really going to be difficult for them because they can't keep the ball out of the net as well. So, no, I think they will come back. They'll come back up as favourites from the Championship. We'll see them again, but we won't see them next year.